Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
Yeah, lots. Really want to be looking at going away with Amelia in April. Obviously, we're planning the Brotherhood event as well, which looks like we may have the dates figured out, which would be fun. I'm not going to say anything about the location, obviously, because I know some of the guys listen to this. But yeah, it's fun having so many travel plans, right? Go away with Amelia in April. Been looking at that. Probably going to go up to Scotland, check out the Highlands and do paddleboarding and all that fun stuff, and just be maybe off grid for a few days. That'll be nice. The Brotherhood stuff in March, that'll be fun. And then I'd love to really feeling the pull to get to the mountains, like go snowboarding. Really feeling the pull for that. So I was looking at that today.
Nice. Now, travel. Lots of travel going on in 2022 for all of us. I'm off to the Bahamas in 3 weeks, and I just haven't. It's going to be fun. Maybe the Cayman Islands, and then back on another trip. We got an Alpha Reset coming up in the first quarter. Got one in the UK, one in the States. Yeah. So those are going to be exciting things as well. And then we go into the Brotherhood event right after that. So lots going on, as there always is, which makes it fun, man. Makes it fun.
It does. Yeah, it does. So I want to address a faulty assumption that I'd say most guys have. Now, if you're listening to this, when I share with you what this is, you may give me pushback mentally in your own mind. You may think, you know what? I'm not buying that. I can do that. That isn't true of me. And if that's you and you are getting triggered, as Doug says, if you're getting triggered, then that's something inside of you. There's something there, right? So sit with it as we go through this episode, because this episode has the potential to ruffle a few feathers, I think. So the idea is this idea that you can compartmentalize. You cannot compartmentalize. That's the reality. We have guys tell us, oh, well, you know, the issues that are happening in my marriage, not affecting my business. I'm playing all out there and everything's going well. But guys, look, the reality is if you are holding back within your relationship, be it sexually, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever, right? If you are holding back in your relationship, and maybe how this might show up is you desire your wife and you want to go up to her and you want to hug her or kiss her or whatever, but you don't. You want to initiate sex, but you don't. Maybe because you've been rejected in the past. Maybe because you don't know how anymore because it's been so long. Let's say you want to plan a date night, but you don't because, again, maybe you don't want to get rejected. Maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe she doesn't trust your leadership because there's not been any connection or emotional safety created over the past few days, weeks, months, years, whatever. Now, the reality is, if that's happening for you in your relationship, that will be showing up in your career. You may do your best, and look, I commend you. I'm sure you do your best to show up every day and fight that self-doubt, if you will. But the reality is, if you are fearing the rejection or experiencing self-doubt at home, it will bleed over into business. It may show up with you maybe not going for projects or tendering for the things that you know you could get. And maybe part of that is because you don't want to earn more money or really unleash the brakes in case you get divorced, right? Maybe the self-doubt is causing you to become more tolerant of a staff member who isn't really performing at a level you know they can perform at, right? So you tolerate things there. Maybe you don't confront and have difficult conversations that you know you ought to have because, again, your confidence just isn't quite where you know it could be, right? So although you might think you can compartmentalize and although you might actually go into work and really do your best, the reality is if you are not fully giving your gift to the world, be it at home or in your career, then there's a problem. Because both the woman and the world are linked.
That's very true. And I'm laughing over here a little bit because there's so many times I hear this from guys like, well, I can compartmentalize this thing and this thing. I'm really good at separating these things. And none of the guys are. I've never met somebody that can actually do it successfully to the top level, right? There's guys that are really good at stuffing things down and pretending that they're compartmentalizing. It's kind of like multitasking, right? People that say, well, I'm focusing on 4 things right now. You can't focus on more than one thing, period. You can task switch, or you can have a lot of things that you're working on, but you can't focus on more than one thing at any given time, right? And it's kind of like compartmentalizing. Guys that are trying to separate what they're doing from basically their relationships, like you're talking about, or the source of what they're going after in their passions, they always end up falling down, right? It always ends up crashing down upon them. And it's really interesting, Tim, because so often when we talk about this with the men will argue for this point. Like, guys will fight for this belief. They will fight so hard for it. And until they actually see the other side of the coin.
100%. Look, I'm thinking of a couple of guys in particular that we've been recently coaching around this. And the reality is they've been showing up as being quite needy and desperate in the relationship. And that isn't a judgment or a slur on these guys. Mm-hmm. It's just a reality. And part of the reason for that is because they've allowed the side of them that really creates and kills it in business to take a hit as well, which further escalates and compounds the self-doubt, the insecurity, the neediness, because for a lot of guys, there's an identity play as well at work, right? Hey, I go in there and I crush it. I'm the man. Even if you have that identity and you do well at work and you set records, the reality is if you are holding back within the relationship, you could be doing even better at work. You could be killing it even more in your career if you allowed yourself to release the brakes and you actually opened up and committed. The reality is it's just a decision. You're one decision away from this. Yeah, there's some tools you can use and all that fun stuff. And it all starts with a one decision that, do you know what? I am going to fully give my gift to the world, both the woman and the world. And when you choose to play at that level and you make that decision, and your decisions then come from that place, it's almost like a filtering mechanism. It changes. It's almost like you have got, it's kind of like trying to rise up, right? And you've got these shackles on your feet that are stopping you from rising. It's like you cut the shackles and all of a sudden you're free. You can fly, you can soar. Just from this one decision. But yeah, the key here is, guys, the first thing you got to do is be open-minded enough to look at your life right now and ask yourself, okay, well, what if this is true? Rather than resisting this, just play with the possibility of, okay, what if this is true for me? Let me just look into this. Is there a pattern here? Is there a link between how I am holding back at home and how I hold back at work? And at first, do you know what? Nothing may come up for you. Sit with it. Look at it. Look for the nuances. Like I said a moment ago, maybe it's you're avoiding tough conversations. Well, the reality is if you're avoiding tough conversations, there's probably elements at home where you're not leading. Maybe you're not maintaining boundaries with your wife, right? Maybe you're not speaking up and asking for things that you really want, be it emotionally, sexually, physically, whatever. So look for the pattern, because the flip side of this, when you make this decision and you decide to fully give your gift to both the woman and the world, God, how would you describe that feeling, Doug? I mean, it feels like you, best way to say it, have released the brakes.
Yeah, I would say, if I were to describe it, I would say it's almost like a combination of true freedom and floating. Like everything feels light and easy. Like you're in a state of flow. if you can picture a professional athlete being in flow, in basketball, just draining the bucket. They always talk about the hoop just seems gigantic when they're in flow and they can't miss a shot. It's the same thing like that in life when you're truly going after it.
It is. It's hard to describe because it's a feeling, isn't it? It's that feeling of freedom. I think freedom would be the best word to describe it. I don't know if you guys have experienced this when, listeners, it's kind of like a clearing conversation, right? There's so much freedom on the other side of a clearing conversation because, oftentimes we tell ourselves, we make up stories about what people think or how something went, and the more we tell ourselves that story, the more charge we give it and the more of a hold it has over us. But then when we actually have a clearing conversation with the other person, you often leave it realizing, it wasn't that bad. That was actually easier than I thought. And, you have a smile on your face, a spring in your step, you feel a bit better, and then you speak up a little bit more. And it's that feeling of freedom because by default, you're not trying any harder. You're just choosing to let go of the things that were previously holding you back. So by default, you're getting way more out for the same input.
Yep. No, it's exactly what it is. And you not only get way more out for the same input, but you find that passion inside of you. And there's so many guys out there that are working a job or running a business that they're just dispassionate about. And that's why they're constantly daydreaming or thinking about another side hustle or something else that they can want to do. Or I wish I knew what my passion was. And it is that nebulous, right? That feeling stuck. And that is the breaks you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think you touch on an important point there because the flip side of this is true. I know we're talking about the idea of holding back at home and how it shows up in the in business. But let's flip that coin around, right? If you are holding back in business, right? Let's say you're making good money, right? And you're comfortable. You've been making money a certain way for a long time. And you're afraid to change and do what you really want to do. You're afraid to really go after what your heart really desires. And you can see a way in which you were meant to be impacting the world or creating value or whatever, right? But you're not doing it. You're holding back. You're procrastinating. That feeling of playing small, what do you think happens when you walk in through the door in an evening and your wife gives you a shit test or a fitness test? How do you think you handle it? You gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say your wife knows if you're playing small.
Yeah,
right?
She does.
She knows. She sees it from a mile away, guys. She knows you're playing small in the world of business. She knows if you're playing small in your relationship with her. And that's not what she signed up for. It's not what you signed up for.
No, not at all. And I think what's interesting is what's the scorecard you're going to use, right? What scorecard do you use in business to determine what game you're playing, right? If you're going to base your scorecard just on money, then chances are you're going to reach a level whereby you surpass it. And yeah, you find yourself in this place where you're not fully giving your gift to the world. You are holding back because you've allowed yourself to say, oh, well, I'm cashing checks. I'm feeling good, cashing checks. But the reality is your woman would rather see you make less money, but be on purpose and feel that purposeful direction from you as you're walking through the door on an evening. By default, you're going to have more playfulness and relaxation. You're just going to be more full, quite frankly, right? That's the version of you she wants to feel. And this is why a lot of guys that come to us, they say, I don't know what happened. I've given her everything she could ever ask for. She's got the home, the holidays, the car, the ring, the Range Rover, the this, the that. Look, it's not what she wanted. For the most part, I'm not going to use a blanket statement. For most women, that isn't what they wanted, right? And when guys go out there and they burn themselves out and exhaust themselves in the process of providing this life that they think other people around them want, and then feel resentful when they realize, hang on a minute, why isn't she just jumping all over me right now because look at what I've provided her? Well, It's because she never wanted that. She wants the man. She wants you and in your fullness when you're walking through that door. And you can only get that fullness when you're giving your full gift to the world. Because by doing so, in the process of you giving your full gift, you get fullness back.
I couldn't agree more. So Tim, what are a couple things these guys can do in this moment of insight?
I think one of them, which we said a moment ago, is sit with this, look at the pattern first from the angle of, okay, what's the pattern in the relationship, and does it show up in business, or even vice versa, right? Whatever is the easier one for you to start so you can piece these things together. And then I want you to play with this question, just playing the possibilities. What would it, if you had it all your way, right? If you had it all your way and you were giving the world your fullest gift, what would it look like? I want you to just journal on this and get it down. Obviously, if you're driving, pull over or, save this to do later on. If you're going to save it to do, I'd come back and listen to this again and then do it. But I want you to just get down whatever comes up. Don't get lost in the how and, well, how would I make that happen and what? Don't go into logic. Just play with the possibility. Follow the inspiration and the joy. And, I'm sure what you write down kind of scares you a bit as well. So when you're thinking that thing, should I write it? Get it down. Get it all down on paper and just enjoy it. My hope for you guys in doing this is that it just pours out of you, because for most guys, once you start with this and you open the floodgates, usually a lot comes out and they often read it back and it surprises them. Allow yourself to be surprised by this. Allow yourself to enjoy this and just see what that would look like. And the third thing is, once you've got that, I want you to imagine, who are you in that place? Giving your fullest gift. How might that change things in your relationship? How might that fuel your confidence? How might you feel differently day to day? And do you think that might have an effect on you as a father, on you as a husband, on you as a son, a friend, a brother, whatever? Just play with the possibility of how that might actually change the other territories of your life.
Great insights, as always. Gentlemen, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. Take Tim up on that. Grab your journals, right? Put pause to this. Grab your journals and take action. If not now, when? Right? If not now, when? And as always, be a man of power. Be a man of action. Until next time, we'll see you in Powerful Man.